Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we are in 2 Samuel 23. We've been looking these last 2 weeks at the songs that David wrote that have specific historical context from the book of Psalms, and then we looked to the last 2 days at the song that's included in 2 Samuel 22. It's also in Psalm 18, and then which is the song that he sang about his final deliverance. And then today and tomorrow we're going to look at the song, a very short song, 7 verses, that is recorded in 2 Samuel 23. 2 Samuel kind of brings some material to us at the end of the book that bring to a close the events of David's life, although David will not die till the early chapters of 1 Kings. And so we get these appendices, pretty much. We get this song, the song that we've talked about the last few days, the list of David's mighty men, and then that last event, the census that David took and what happened surrounding that census, before we move on to the story of the new king in 1 Kings. It says in 2 Samuel 23, and before we read this, that list of David's mighty men, you would do well to read that. It really piques your interest in these. You want to know more about these guys. We have little bits of information about a few of them, and it's just really, really interesting. But it says in chapter 23, verse 1, now, these are the last words of David. And then it says, the oracle of David, son of Jesse, the oracle of the man who was raised on high, the anointed of the God of Jacob, the sweet psalmist of Israel. The Spirit of the Lord speaks by me. His word is on my tongue. The God of Israel has spoken. The rock of Israel has said to me, when one rules justly over men, ruling in the fear of God, he dawns on them like the morning light, like the sun shining forth on a cloudless morning, like rain that makes grass to sprout from the earth. For does not my house stand so with God? He has made with me an everlasting covenant, ordered in all things and secure. Will he not cause to prosper all my help and my desire? But worthless ones are like the thorns that are thrown away, for they cannot be taken with the hand. But the man who touches them arms himself with iron and the shaft of a spear, and they are utterly consumed with fire. Well, this is really, really interesting, and it's unlike any of the other songs, but clearly the Song of David. I hope that you've noticed some things about this song. We'll talk about it generally today, and then we'll talk about it verse by verse tomorrow. The first thing is that it's a wisdom song, just like Psalm 1 is. And another song that had really 2 verses in it, comparing the righteous with the wicked. And we had this vivid imagery from nature, the tree planted by rivers of water and the wind that is blown away. In this one we have contrasted the righteous king and the worthless one, the one who rules in righteousness. So this is not just about folks, it's about being a ruler of God's people and representing God as the ruler of his people. And the imagery is the contrast between sunshine and rain when needed, that brings about fertility and prosperity, and thorn bushes that you can't even touch with your bare hands. You got to hack it to pieces with a sword and iron implements and then burn it up, which is the way you can get rid of those thorns. And it really stands in a very prophetic way as a warning to his own successors those who would sit on his throne and who would be rejected by God. But it's also prophetic in that he makes clear that although men who have been descended from him, like Ammon or even a man as wicked as Manasseh, who in the end, repented, men like that, his throne will be eternal. Again, connecting us with the Messiah. His throne is going to endure. It will survive all the ravages of sin that his successors will bring to the throne. So anyway, well, thank you for joining me for these 5 good minutes. We're going to look at the verses, the specific text of this psalm tomorrow. Thank you for joining me.